Okay, I'm live. Do the usual routine, sending out the notifications to the social media pages. Do, 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 do. Some very interesting stuff I'm going to be discussing today, or covering, I should say. All right. Let's check and see. All right. Just like I say, give a few minutes here. Let a few people trickle into the chat, into the stream. Hashtag Free Canada Now. Okay. All right. Oh, there we go. See someone in there. What's going on, Howard G? We say just give it a couple minutes here. As you can see, more continuing COVID coverage, dealing with caregivers, Cargill, and CERB. Why does that look frozen? Okay, no, it's working. It's working. Like I say, just going to give it a couple minutes here. We haven't set up a date, by the way, but yeah, I emailed back and forth with Leo, and we'll probably have a discussion, if not over the weekend, probably early next week sometime. Okay. All right, let me just close this out now. Like I say, looks like there's a few more people trickling in here. Just want to double check, make sure everything's good. Sound and video quality is decent. It looks like it is on my end of it. Anyways, so far so good. Okay. Well, there we go. What's going on, Dreamcatcher C? Hey. And Randy Doan, all is good. Thank you very much. Glad to hear it. Thank you, Howard. Okay, so like I say, probably don't need to give it too much more time here before I start getting into it. Oh, actually, I don't even know if I should mention it. Why not? While I'm waiting, I guess I might as well. I don't, because to me, it's like, it's going to be what it's going to be regardless. But I found it striking. Yesterday in my stream, I had mentioned how my Facebook page, in contrast to my YouTube channel, which seems to be like, I don't know, stuck in this gradual decline. I mean, it's super gradual, but my growth is basically stagnant or slightly declining in terms of subscribers on my YouTube channel. But I was mentioning yesterday that it's the exact opposite on my Facebook page. I actually had, and I have been, my Facebook page likes have been growing for the last few weeks, or probably better part of a month. much more steadily and on a better increase than typically is the case. But of course, as soon as I finished the stream, went onto my Facebook page, I was down 3 likes. So I don't know. Like I say, sometimes it just makes me wonder, is this all just psychological shit to try to fuck with me or what? Because like I say, it's if I say one thing, I have to be, it's almost as if there's got to be something to send me the exact opposite message to. It seems to be very much about discouragement. PooTube and F-book deleting everything. Yeah, well, like I say, I don't know. I mean, I haven't had my stuff deleted as of yet. What's going on, Tommy Gunn? Oh, and Paul Q. Good morning, Paul Q. By the way, folks, if you hit the old like button, that would help me out in some regard too. Now I'll be looking at the stream afterwards. It'll be at negative likes. No, just kidding. Anyways, looks like there's a few peeps here already. So let me just dive right into it, as they say. Oh, wait, now here we go. What's going on? Soul changes. And thank you very much. I checked, by the way, and you did on your membership level, get that special shout out. But like I say, I'll give you another one just for the heck of it. Why not? Thank you very much for that membership, Soul Change. And I really appreciate that. Always nice to see people are willing to help out and gain some benefits and perks along the way. And hopefully everything's all going well out there in the Saskatchewan. Okay, like I say, so let's get into this whole thing because before I actually get into the caregivers and Cargill and the CERB, let's kind of, I didn't even know how to name this stream this morning. I was trying to think of so many different ways to name the stream. But basically what I'm going to be discussing and covering in regard to the stream is obviously it's all COVID related, or kind of, like everything seems to be COVID related these days, right? But it's the effect, it's the cost, and not necessarily the economic cost per se, although the economic costs are something that's always an aspect of this, because there's pretty much usually an economic cost in addition to a social cost, right? Not always, but when you're talking about government, when you're talking about government, there's usually an economic cost for things, but it's the social cost as well. And like I say, all this stuff is definitely having an effect on Canadians of all stripes, all backgrounds, and all shapes and sizes, as they say. And the immigration, so not just the mass immigration, where they're, for years and years and years now, not just since the Liberals come to power, but even under the Harper regime, the Conservative regime, although conservative, yeah, right. Anyways, of the Harper Conservatives, there was a pretty rampant escalation in immigration as well. So a couple 100,000, 250,000. They've been bumped up to 300 to 350,000. I mean, now, like I say, you're looking average, and that's just your legal immigrants coming to this country. Then you got to include the temporary foreign worker program, which includes hundreds of thousands of more people. Then you got the asylum seekers that are crossing the border, right? There's just so many different aspects of the whole immigration thing that's definitely having an effect. So today, like I say, we're not just talking about COVID, but it's also the cause and effect correlation of immigration with all these government programs, and how immigration, in addition to COVID, is having an effect on what's happening in Canada. So anyways, like I say, just to kind of get people up to speed, I figured I'd cover this article first and foremost, because very few of the media outlets talk about this stuff anymore. And I haven't really seen much in terms of reporting on it recently right now. But even if I go back to, let me take that banner off there. Yeah, by the way, yeah, free Canada now. But even if I go back, like I say, to when this was still being reported on last year, because like I say, it was dying down. All the coverage in terms of the asylum seekers and the pouring across the border was, like I say, the news coverage had greatly died down. Even those in the alternative media, was it that Keat guy there, the Rebel News reporter? He was down there a couple times, but very few people have been down at the border actually covering this thing. But anyways, like I say, so there's this article out of Global News. This was March 17th, 2020, so it's not that old of an article. anyways, with a heading, coronavirus, asylum seekers irregularly crossing to Canada will be screened. This was reported by Emerald Bensadouin, March 17, 2020, like I say. Canadian Minister of Public Safety Bill Blair said Tuesday that in an attempt to prevent the spread of novel coronavirus, those crossing the border irregularly will still be allowed into Canada, but will be subject to medical screening and housed in quarantine when necessary. Speaking at a press conference, Blair told reporters that those found crossing the border would be immediately taken into custody and undergo a 24-hour screening process. Now, were they all tested? No, we've already heard subsequent to that. It's not like they were all tested, right? Ask if they had any symptoms or look for visual signs or symptoms. And if not, more or less, we're basically given, here, go ahead and do your thing, right? And go through the rest of the entire process. And how many of them would you think? Well, just to give you an idea on those numbers, between October and December of 2019, so just, a 3-month time frame, right? If you include all of October, November, December, it could be, depending on when that was done, it could be as little as 2 months, depending on what point of the month of those both months that this was actually attributable to. Anyways, the Immigration and Refugee Board of Canada said there was an intake of 4,097 refugee claims from people attempting to cross into Canada irregularly. So just in that 2 or 3 month time frame, like I say, so that was basically towards the end of 2019. But I mean, how many months have we had since then, right? It's been what, 4 or 5, well, basically 4.5 months now since then. So we don't know, and we know that it hasn't been like they've stopped entirely, so that there's still trickling across the border. But even if we just deal right up till December, you're still looking at basically over 4,000 people who have come across this border illegally, right? Haven't been properly vetted, haven't had, it's not like they come here through the legal means. And I'll even get to the point where even if you come here the legal means, it's still, once again, a lot of people are slipping through the cracks. And it's not like big government is nearly efficient or good at doing what it's supposed to do, which is to protect Canadians from any of these foreign threats, not in terms of obviously the immigrants, but like, did they have the coronavirus, right? I mean, it's hard enough to deal with the Canadians that are already here, but when you have them crossing the border illegally and when you have mass immigration to the tunes of hundreds of thousands, mistakes are going to be made. And they have definitely been made, as we'll find out by reading further articles that'll be tying into this stuff. But like I said, I just wanted to cover this one first and foremost, just to let you know that, yes, Canada's border down there at Roxham Road is still basically porous. And well, as it was, as being reported here, and thousands of people are still pouring across the border, right? So that's something to keep in mind as I continue on the rest of these articles. And then there was this thing that I found being reported at CBC News yesterday, which I found to be quite striking. Because once again, you're going to realize that it's all going to be tied together. But actually, before I do get to it, let me just check in on everyone here. See who else has joined the chat this morning. What's going on? Mohammed is what a username, right? It's quite the username. So Gates is into plant-based food as well. Things are tying together. Oh, really? Like the veggie burgers? Like, no, thanks. The wife said, she said, most people don't care for that stuff. They had to put it on sale. Actually, they had like a mixture of plant and animal based. So it's like a quasi, they basically can barely give the stuff away. So, Facebook got even more censored than it was. Well, that's the thing, Adam. Like I say, most of the time, my Facebook, I haven't had too many issues, but I don't. I have, like I say, seen. Might be just what I said too. Could be, like I say, because definitely when I bring up, any of my rants against those in law enforcement stuff, like I say, I know there's lots of people that get triggered about that because they're big fans of the enforcers, right? And they feel like they got to have some kind of loyalty to them or something. I don't know, whatever. But anyways, can't make critical comments about any liberals. It gets filtered out. Yeah. Shit. What's going on, Reverend Jim Jones? Tommy Plus revisited that movie last week. Tommy. Oh, is that Tommy Robinson over in the UK? All right. Coley is going. Right on. What's going on, Shaky Pete? Good morning from Vancouver. Good morning. Anyways, like I say, so let me get back to the articles here, because like I say, this I found to be quite the revelation, and going to be quite an upsetting revelation to Canadians, or at least a substantial portion of Canadians, and rightfully so. So let me, like I say, get to this article. We'll start dealing with it. All right. So check out that headline, folks. What do you think of them apples? Instead of Montreal, CBC, Quebec relies on hundreds of asylum seekers in long-term care's battle against COVID-19. So, wonder if there's any cause and effect correlation here with the fact that Quebec relies on hundreds of these asylum seekers in long-term care's battle against COVID-19. And what's the place that has had the most rampant rise and escalation or reports in regards to the cases and deaths when you're talking about COVID-19? Oh, yeah, it's in Quebec's long-term care facilities, right? The very places that these people work in. And like I say, I can't help but wonder if there's any cause and effect correlation here. Let's read on and see if we can't find a little bit more information about what's going on in Quebec in regards to these asylum seekers and COVID-19. Woman twice rejected for refugee status contracts coronavirus while caring for Quebec's elderly. Well, okay then. Is there a definite or a definitive cause and effect correlation between asylum seekers and the potential spread or infection being imposed, or happening in these facilities? Obviously, yes, because it's being reported right here. Once again, a woman twice rejected. Twice. She was rejected twice for refugee status. Probably one of those ones that rolled across, the border in Quebec, Roxham Road from upstate New York, as if like, oh, you're fleeing Trump, are you? You're fleeing the U.S., which is, to me, it's so hilarious when they try to put it, oh, they're fleeing Trump or the U.S., they're trying to seek asylum. Like, please. As a Canadian, I'd be going the exact opposite way. So don't give me this crap that you have to flee the U.S. Because like I say, I'm a Canadian, and I'm one of those people that you probably say, oh, you live in such an entitled Western world. It's like, yeah, well, I still would prefer especially at this particular time, be down in the U.S., like I say, because more chance of me finding an area where I'd have my freedoms respected at the very least. But anyways, so this is obviously a case where a woman who was twice rejected for refugee status, and why is she still here? She's been rejected, right? Well, why? Why is that the case? I don't know. But yeah, so she contracts the coronavirus while caring for Quebec's elderly. This was being reported by Verity Stevenson and Benjamin Shingler, May 8th, 2020. Sarah watches her 4-year-old daughter jump around play structure she's not allowed on because of the pandemic. They're just happy to be outside. For 8 days, Sarah, an asylum seeker from Haiti who crossed the U.S. border into Quebec at Roxham Road 3 years ago, was bedridden in their small Montreal Nord apartment, her body feverish and aching. It had started with some coughing and a slight fever she had tried to brush off at first. Her manager at the private long-term care residence in Ahuntsic, where she works as an orderly, wasn't happy when she'd asked to stop working for fear of bringing the infection home to her asthmatic daughter. Then more symptoms appeared. She was nauseous, and the cough and fever got worse. A test a couple days later confirmed she had COVID-19. Now on the mend, 3 weeks after testing positive, Sarah says, I'm proud I was on the battlefield. Sarah's far from the only asylum seeker working on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic. Many guardian angels are asylum seekers. Major Marjorie Villefranche, executive director of Maison de Haiti of Montreal, St. Michael District, estimated that about 1,200 of the 5,000 Haitian asylum seekers the organization has helped since 2017 have become orderlies. So taking care of the aged and elderly in these long-term care facilities. France Andre, who helped found the Action Committee for People Without Status, an advocacy group that helped asylum seekers settle in Montreal, said there are many more who've flown under the radar. All right. So right. Even more that have flown under the radar. Asylum seekers make up a large portion of the guardian angels, Quebec Premier Francois Legault has praised in his daily briefings. The orderlies, or proposés aux bénéficiaires working in long-term care homes who have no guarantee they'll be allowed to stay in Canada. As quickly as they can, they want to find a job, and they're being directed to jobs that no one else wants to do. The caregivers, PABs, security agents, Andre said. So like I say, no matter how you look at this, and first of all, this pretense that no one else will do, like I say, it's all about incentivizing people. If you properly incentivize people, people will do this job. So to pretend that people won't do a job, no, what it is, and I've said this so many times before, not at the ridiculous pay rates that you're offering. That's on hand. If you don't compensate people properly, because like I say, these jobs, this is one thing this COVID-19 hopefully will have an effect, and it'll show what jobs are truly underpaid, right? And a necessity, or essential. I mean, but although I don't even like to get into the whole essential thing, because we all essentially need a job to pay for ourselves, to provide for ourselves, to provide for our loved ones, right? And all that stuff. But like I say, economic compensation should obviously be much higher if a lot of people won't go into these positions. Because if we recognize that these are positions that have to be filled somehow, some way, to take care of all these aging and elderly people in Canada, which, like I say, is a huge cohort, and the boomers are all heading off in that direction, which is going to make a much bigger bulge in that aging demographic cohort, right? So if we recognize that that's what's needed in this country, then stop trying to offload that to people that are, illegal asylum seekers or claimants who are pouring across the border that'll work for really dirt cheap wages, right? You're incentivizing the wrong peeps. You're disincentivizing the people that are already here. And as you're seeing as a consequence or effect, and I don't know how this lady contracted the coronavirus, but it's having an effect in these long-term care facilities as well. Without status on the front lines, he and other refugee advocates have been calling on the Canadian government to allow asylum seekers already in the country to stay. Many of them are hired by temp agencies, which offer people eager to work easy access to the labor market. For seniors' homes desperately short of staff, the agencies are a source of cheap labor. Exactly, right? Exactly. They're even admitting it right here, right? But they operate with little government oversight. So, like I say, cheap labor. And in these facilities, like, this is the thing. If that's how, the population or the governments of Canada or these facilities want to treat the elderly people, as if the only thing that they're worthy of is whatever the lowest paid person that you can come up with. Is that who you want in charge of taking care of the aging and the elderly and the vulnerable in this country? People that are at the very bottom of the pay scale? Like, come on. Like I say, so much fail, folks. So much fail. And yeah, there's definitely a lot more to come. But I'm going to continue on reading from this article because it's still offering lots of insight, right? Okay. The workers are often shuffled from facility to facility. A practice Quebec's public health director, Dr. Horatio Arruda, has acknowledged is contributing to the spread of COVID-19 in long-term care centers, known in the province as CHSLD. So there it is right there. Actual acknowledged proof that this Quebec's public health director, he's acknowledging that having these TFWs, these asylum seekers, going all over the province of Quebec. And this is probably taking place in Ontario as well, right? Because that's another one of those big centers where a lot of the asylum seekers are being sent to, because we've already heard, and I've reported on that stuff many times in the past too. So that's probably what's happening. And there's probably, that probably is contributing, well, they're even admitting that that's contributing to this outbreak in these long-term care facilities, which has seen tremendous, not just death, that's way outstripping what it is in the rest of the Canadian society, which is like very, very, very tiny in comparison. Whereas in these long-term care facilities, it's so much higher. And as it's being admitted here, these asylum seekers and these, basically slave labor wages, and picking from the lowest, like I say, in the social economic aspect of our society, picking those people to be in care of, like I say, the most vulnerable among us, probably doesn't seem like a good idea, does it? Sure shit doesn't to me. And the evidence suggests nope. Andre says the long hours they put in make the workers more prone to catching the virus and spreading it to their families. He says it explains why Montreal Nord, a low-income neighborhood filled with newcomers, has the highest numbers of cases in the city. And yeah, of course, this article will be in the description of the stream below. Share this. Like I say, folks, I do this stuff not just to inform you in the here and now in these live streams, but so that you'll have this kind of information to share with others, right? To show them just how detrimental this kind of stuff, especially those who are the supporters of asylum seekers or this mass immigration push, right? Because as we're seeing, well, what's your priorities, right? What are your priorities? Do you care about the aging, the elderly, and the vulnerable in these senior facilities, in these long-term care facilities? Or do you care about the asylum seekers? Because as you can see, there's a conflict between the two as to which is how this is playing out. When you're tired, you don't eat well. You will go back home and there's 4, 5, 6, and sometimes 7 people living in a one bedroom. The chances of the people catching it, the family catching COVID-19, is greater than anywhere else, Andre said. So these people obviously are not practicing. You're not allowed to be any more than 5 or more, right? That's the rules. But like I say, the rules will be selectively enforced and applied in this country, as we see, because there's certain people and you know, in this modern politically correct world that we live in, especially in Canada, under the Trudeau PC regime, politically correct, right? Is no, you can't do anything or say anything bad about these asylum seekers or the mass immigration program or the temporary foreign worker program. You can't, it's all politically incorrect. It's like touching the third rail to do so. But like I say, it's having an effect, folks. That politically correctness is quite detrimental. Because really, this is something that obviously people shouldn't be happy with this situation, no matter how it's being no matter what aspect of how this is being reported, right? It is also difficult for orderlies working for agencies to adhere to the province's request that they work in only one long-term care residence, because accepting shifts wherever they're asked to go is the only way to cobble together full-time work, right? Another woman CBC spoke with works part-time for a private residence and part-time for an agency, providing home care. Bouncing between visits to patients, homes, and shifts at the long-term care residence increased the risk of spread. But the woman said she feels she has no choice. So, well, obviously putting these people at equation multiple times, because like I say, look at the death rate that's happening in these Quebec long-term care facilities. So, problematic use of agencies predates pandemic. Yeah, I'm not a fan of those damn temporary agencies anyways. It's just another middleman to take a huge portion of your income and give you no job security or what. I don't know. Like I say, Canada's got to get away from this kind of nonsense at some point in time. Long-term care homes have long been reliant on temp agencies to fill staffing holes. Like I say, like why? Why do these people in these facilities not deserve more? What's up with the families these days? Is everybody just don't give a shit about anybody, right? Yeah, throw grandma and grandpa, let's throw them in the old age facility. Who cares who's take care of them? Who cares what happens to them, right? Like really, like I say, and no doubt maybe it's a consequence or the cause of that is because, you know, maybe some of these older people treated their children and grandchildren like fucking garbage, and now their children and grandchildren's like, oh yeah, be gone. I'm done with you. You're someone else's problem now. Well, like I say, especially for the older generations that are even right now still treating their younger generation or successive generations like garbage and constantly want to vote to control every aspect of their social economic life. You should be thinking about this stuff as well, because like I say, Gen Xers and millennials and Gen Zers on down are going to be like, as the boomers and the rest of their ilk go off into retirement. Well, like I say, if you don't have a proper functioning family relationship, right? If you don't have that kind of close knitness with your family, well, this is your future. This is your future. So like I say, how important is it for you to build those ties that bind you, namely family and community? I'd say it's really, really important. And I recognize that there's a lot of boomers out there that need to start recognizing that themselves and start doing the right thing, rather than constantly trying to pretend that they're not going to need their family at any point in time in the future because the state has got their back. Well, it's not working out so well, is it? Because look what the state's got on offer as a replacement for your children and grandchildren to take care of you in your your most vulnerable years. Yeah. Temporary foreign workers, illegal asylum seekers, and people, like I say, at the lowest end of the social economic scales in this country. That's who. Okay. Okay, where do we at here? And most of them, and the people of the agency sign on are most often women and newcomers to Quebec. Well, of course, yes, it's mostly women that go into taking care of the elderly. Yes, nature and nurture, right? Yes, men and women. So we're actually even acknowledging here that there's actually differences between men and women in terms of the kind of jobs or occupations they go into, right? Oh no, it's that wage gap, right? Anyways. Oh, come on. Even before the pandemic, they had a lot of trouble finding people to do the orderly work, said Professor Nicholas Fernandez, a specialist in the relationship between healthcare workers and patients, who teaches family and emergency medicine at University of Montreal. Like I say, it's a pay problem. It's an incentive problem. It's not that there's no Canadians in this country that can do these jobs. Like someday, like at some point in time, all this reality is going to have to be reflected on and dealt with, because like I say, ignoring these things and pretending that it's all going to go away someday or somehow, well, okay, good luck with all that. The short-term solution is to go to agencies. The reliance on temp agencies puts additional stress on CHSLDs struggling to contain outbreaks, said Fernandez, who has also served as a translator for asylum seekers. CBC reached out to both federal and provincial departments requesting statistics on PABs, including how many are asylum seekers. Quebec's Labor and Immigration Minister said they do not collect that information, but yet they'll collect all kinds of information on you, right? Especially as a Canadian citizen. But no, they're not going to collect that information, right? Jeez. What would that be? Politically incorrect? Wow. The health ministry didn't provide a breakdown either, but offered up figures showing the vast majority of PABs are women, 34,821 of 42,340 in both private and public facilities. The average salary in 2019 was 40,551. So I mean, actually, it's like low in comparison to some of the other occupations, but 40,000 not the worst thing ever, right? But obviously, yeah, women overwhelmingly represent this. Why is there no argument say we need more men in long-term healthcare facilities? You're not going to get that kind of argument from the hacks at the CBC or these people that would normally be all about, right? Equality among the sexes. But anyways, I'm not even going to get into that, right? Let's save that for another day. Fernandez says the job of a PAB is grueling and crucial. They are the backbone of CHSLDs. They're the backbone, but yet we pay them the least. Oh, that's like the people at the frontline workers and stuff now out in retail in the grocery store and stuff. It's like, yeah, oh yeah, we need them. They're so important. Or that like the people at some of these other facilities are, oh, they're so essential. We need them, but yet we want to pay them garbage. We want to pay them slave labor wages, right? We want to treat them like second-class citizens or serfs, right? But yeah, they're so needed and necessary. Well, in a market environment, when you're talking about competing people for these jobs, well, how would that properly work? If there's so much demand and there's a limited supply of that demand, well, that obviously means that wages should be bid up. But are we seeing that? Nope. Not in socialist Canada, right? No. Like, we got to treat everyone equally like crap. Equally underpaid. From the moment they wake up, most residents require extensive care, at least 3 hours a day to have qualified for a bed. In order for the person to feel cared for and not just a number, you need someone who is going to be there every day, he said. Let's see what else. Those calls grew louder on Thursday with the community group decided to the rights of Haitians who crossed into Canada in 2017, asked the provincial and federal governments to implement a special immigration program for those working. We find it hard to believe that these guardian angels may be expelled from the country once the battle is won. So, people are just apparently out there. Anyways, like I say, I'll put a link to this in the description of this stream, obviously. But I mean, what else needs to be said? I mean, lots was already contained just within this one article alone in regards to what these asylum seekers and the effect it's having on the long-term care facilities. in Quebec as it's being reported here. But like I say, you can rest assured that's also taking place in Ontario and probably a lot of the other these long-term care facilities, which have seen, like I say, the largest by a substantial degree number of COVID-19 cases or outbreaks and spread in those facilities. So, right? Cause and effect, cause and effect. Anyways, let me get back to the stream, see what everyone's up to. Hey, go Leafs, go. That's so funny. What's going on, Ken Rose? Good morning. Is it morning still? Yeah. Well, unless you're on the East Coast or on the Rock over in the Newfoundland thereby. There's no garden seeds available to the general public. Why? After 3 months, are there still no face masks, gloves, hand sanitizer in Quebec and Ontario? We, the people, want some straight answers. Really? No garden seeds available? Have you tried going to I know they have some of those at Dollarama and places too there, Ken, if you want to check them out. I'm not sure, but yeah, because it's not good. Unless you know people in your family that have some heirloom seeds, because they're always good to have around too, right? But yeah, that's terrible. And yeah, the shortage of some of these PPE equipment, that's another thing, as you're mentioning, is like, why, right? Why this long after the fact, right? They're coming for free welfare. Yes, some of them are, but obviously some of them are not. Some of them are actually going out to work. So like I say, there's going to be a discrepancy there, but always a different ruling for Quebec, tail wagging the dog. Sick of it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Always. Hey, what's going on, the anarchist? Bonjour tout le monde. Okay, so good day to the world. Sub to your channel. Not usually a fan of that kind of stuff, right? But hey, whatever. I'll let it slide today. But good day to you too, the anarchist. New York had the highest cases, so yep, of course. Yes, that's the other thing too, because if you think of how they crossed into Quebec, their road is it's upstate New York, right? So yeah, good for you for pointing that out, Dreamcatcher. Not why is this not allowing me to? What? There we go. Holy, that was weird. Arrive with 7 kids, and that's lots of child tax benefit money. Oh yeah, huge. I mean, if you got like 5 to 7 kids, you make out more money than me and my wife sat down and thought about it there one day, just did the numbers real quick. And it's like, yeah, like frig, you'd have to be making like 30, 40 bucks an hour to even come close to keeping up with that. Because that's the thing, when you are on welfare, it's not just the welfare you get and the child tax credit, as Terry's pointing out, which is, quite a bit of money on its own, but then you got free prescription, free, like all free healthcare, free prescription, free dental care. I think you can even get your eyeglasses covered. Like basically free. Everything's for free, right? It's a free for all, basically, if you're on welfare. Whereas if you're a working stiff in the private sector, you got to pay for all that stuff. I mean, other than the baseline healthcare that all Canadians get under our piece of crap socialist or socialized healthcare system. But you don't get all the added perks like dental and prescription and eyeglasses and all that stuff. No, that's reserved for people that don't want to work for a living. It's like I say, the incentive structure is so upside down and ass backwards. It's crazy. What's going on, Jake Fillmore? Good morning. Good morning, Captain Nobody. Good morning, Marcel from Montreal. So, hey, so you're from Montreal. So are you seeing any of this stuff? Oh, here we go. My sister's a caregiver near Montreal, but she has abandoned with anxiety and depression. She is on sick leave trying to get better. Well, I wish your sister the best there, Marcel from Montreal. Like I say, I'm sure it's quite stressful out there for people that are in these occupations, and hopefully, she's being properly economically compensated or rewarded for her job. Because if she's being poorly economically rewarded or compensated for it, that's gonna pile on and be an additional layer of burdensome or costs imposed on her, right? So, anyways, hopefully she's doing fine, and hopefully she doesn't catch the COVID, or if she does, that she gets past it with relative ease. The only thing this virus has shown is how the whole system from top to bottom is totally fucked. Hasn't it, right? Like I say, if you just watch my streams alone, like this, holy crap. Like I say, the evidence is piling up. I thought that Roxham Road was closed 3 months ago. I must get my hearing checked. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They did close it there for a while, but then they've created these disclaimers and exceptions, or not disclaimers, but these exceptions and exemptions so that it's kind of closed, but it's not. So it's better, I believe right now, it's probably better. There's probably not as many people, let's say per day, per week, or per month that are rolling across, but is it still happening? You better believe it's still happening. And like I say, it should not be the case. It should be a simple matter of none. It's illegal to begin with. So just how do we just break it down to zero, right? I mean, that's the thing. They're trying to lock everyone down in Canadian society today and preventing us from all going to work and doing all this stuff. But like I say, still allowing people to come across the border illegally. And obviously they don't have the infrastructure to make sure everyone is properly tested down there. And they're basically saying, oh, as long as they don't have symptoms, oh, go quarantine. So they're, like I say, they're doing the same thing, whether you're Canadian or you're like an illegal asylum seeker, is go quarantine for 14 days. But is there someone, standing outside the door of these people, wherever they're residing at during that 14 days to make sure they're actually following through with those edicts? No, because it's impossible to have that kind of number of people to watch over the thousands. Like, you can't have police officers or all these people that they're watching every single person, right? There's just not enough manpower to do so. So you're relying on trusting these people that, like I said, they've already shown that they're willing to break laws and cross an international border illegally, right? So maybe not as trustworthy as you would think, right? Come on. Anyways. Oh, sorry, you guys are talking amongst each other. What's going on? IBATLAS or IB Atlas or Pound Atlas? Oh, Pound Atlas. Pound Atlas. It could be LB Atlas. Yeah, he's doing a good job, huh, Captain Nobody? Has one mission, destroy Canada. How's he doing thus far? I think he's doing a great job. That's one thing I will say Trudeau's good at, is destroying this country, right? Very good at that. He seems to be top-notch, supreme leader in that regard, right? War starts with China, which is coming. The real hell starts for Canada. I mean, that is possible. That is possible. No, but this stream is, I suspect, being watched by the book burners. Yeah, no doubt. I know there's some of the lefties that watch my stuff, because every once in a while they'll comment on my stuff. It's like, oh, so you obviously pay attention to my social media pages. Usually it's like on my Facebook page or stuff like that. But it's like, But it's like, normally they never agree. They never comment. They never engage or interact with me at all until they find something that they just want to argue or disagree with me on. Then I find, so now you're coming out of the woodwork. Well, at least I know that you're actually paying attention to my channel. Maybe rather than just, speaking up or commenting when you're against me, how about you point out all the times when I'm offering information or stances of position on things that you do agree with? But there's never that. I never get that where it's like, oh yeah, I agree with you. But they wait till like there's one area, I guess, where they're like, oh, I want to try to like get me in a gotcha moment and try to paint me as someone that, the way they do, the way they function, right? But yeah, for sure, those types are definitely out there, and definitely a few of them probably watch the stream from time to time. It's weird. On tablet, I can't like, but on cell, I can. Yeah. That's odd. That is odd. Okay, get a couple more comments I'll read here. Oh, by the way, too, I should mention, I'm contemplating after the whole COVID thing, rather than going back to doing the typical videos as usual, because I am going to stick to like minimal video uploads on my YouTube channel once the COVID-19 starts to, simmer down a little bit. But I was thinking about bringing back the Liberty Hunter podcast and using that and start doing things in podcast form. Like maybe once or twice a week, and then maybe just upload 1 or 2 videos per week. I don't know. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure that out, but I'm kind of thinking, rather than just doing these short videos all the time, I'll still like do videos that cover really important topics. Like I say, just a couple of them per week. on the regular Canadian Libertarian channel, but I really have been interested in doing something with my Liberty Hunter podcast, because I'd like to really get into the podcast. And like I say, I've got the name of the kind of show I want to do. I've got the whole premise set up. I've basically set the whole model up. I just haven't implemented as of yet. I've even got like the intros. I've got the like thumbnail that I can use for. I basically, like I say, I've done most of the footwork and the groundwork to make that possible. I just haven't transitioned into it, but I would like to do it. And what I would like to do, because I want to do it in podcast form, I want to do it where every single podcast is not just dealing with a particular issue or subject matter, but with a guest. So either a co-host or a guest on to do that. So you don't just listen to me, it's me and someone else, which I think would be kind of interesting. I'm not sure what you folks would think of that idea, but that's kind of where I'm leaning to, where I want to go, or where I want to pivot to next, is bring back the Liberty Hunter podcast. I don't know if I want to call it Liberty Hunter podcast or Liberty Hunters podcast. And once again, I could also use that for the fine folks that are the channel membership, that have chosen to have channel membership on the Canadian Libertarian channel. I would even offer that for the 3 times per year, if you're a Liberty leader, for the 3 times per year that I said you can come on to my YouTube channel, I'd also give you the option of either coming on the channel to just do a live stream, or to do it in a podcast type of live stream. So I could offer that as a potential option as well. But like I say, that's just me thinking of, that's probably where I'm going to be trying to pivot to next, because I really do want to get back into having discussions with other people. And part of me even would love to have a co-host, a weekly, so that at least once a time every week, and maybe multiple times a week, but minimally once a week, where it's me and a co-host, covering these kind of topics and issues. Because that's one thing. There's having 2 people, it's always good to bounce ideas off of each other. And, sometimes you forget about covering a particular aspect of an issue, and maybe the other person reminds you of that or brings it up themselves. So it's always good to have that anyway. So anyways, just to let you know, that's kind of where I'm thinking in terms of what I'm going to be doing. What's going on here? Okay. All right. That's what they want to hire. That's why they want to hire contact tracers. Yeah. Yeah. Philip Cochran. Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. TSC, according to Jake, TSC has some seeds. Okay. We pay for the hotels illegals are quarantining in food, medical, 20 years. Yeah, I know I was the one that reported on that, Jake. Well, I'm sure you might have seen it before, but yeah, I reported on that actually. Actually, now that you brought that up, because yeah, I'm not sure if, well, I know a lot of people have not seen that video as of yet because the views isn't that high. But I'm going to share the link to that video that Jake has just brought up on my YouTube channel. I'm going to share that on this stream right now. And like I say, you can just copy the link. I think it should show up as a link, right? Where'd that go? Holy crap. Everything is COVID. It's wall-to-wall COVID. When you look on my channel now, right? COVID, COVID, COVID. Where was that? The 20 years, the 20 years, 20 years, 20 years. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Here we go. Well, I guess it's got a decent amount of views. There's 1.4 thousand, well, almost 14.99. Give me that one more view. All right. So like I say, I'll just share this real quick in the stream. Comment. I'm not sure. Does this even show up as a friggin' link for you folks when I do it like this? Hopefully it does. If not, just let me know. And well, here, let me put that in. I'm going to put that here too, and I'll include it in. I'll just include it in the description of this stream as well. But yeah, I definitely have, like I say, when you're talking about the asylum seekers and basically what Jake Fillmore is referencing in terms of the 20-year gold health. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. Like I say, maybe take a Valium before, because you're probably going to get a little bit irate and outraged when you hear just exactly what the asylum seekers, have access to. And yeah, 20 years worth, 20 years, folks. Like I say, the kind of stuff that you and I as a old stock Canadian, as they like to call us, is yeah, you don't get any of that shit. What's going on, Leo? Yeah, I just mentioned there, Leo, by the way, I was mentioning a little bit earlier on that we're going to have a conversation. If you don't want to do it on the weekend, Monday would be good for me. Like I say, I'll just, if you want, and I prefer obviously doing it during the day because, well, as later in the day, what happens, Leo, I'll tell you with me, because of my internet connection, it's so crappy. Later in the day, basically when everybody's home and everyone's, using up most of the broadband. So in the evenings, my internet connection is just terrible. So that's why I usually prefer to do them early in the day. So if you want to do this Monday, let's say, let's try to get it at least fairly early in the day. I don't have to go as early as I normally do, but I kind of at least would, no later than 2:00 for me, more or less. So I don't know what that would be for you. If you're in Alberta, you're what, 2 hours behind, right? If you're in Alberta, so it'd be like 12:00 your time. But anyways, just mention that in the Twitter. Just throw out a couple options in terms of what you're thinking of, and we'll see if we can't figure that out. Video, like I say, that uploaded, and that it was uploaded about a month and a bit. But even if you just go to my YouTube channel and just scroll back, and you'll see 20 years. It's a silent claim. It's 20 years, and then you'll see it. Anyways, yeah, good for you for. Do you need an AR-15 to take down a deer? Yes, I do. Well, I don't need it, but I want one. I like to. Is it okay? Listen, the deer don't give a shit. What? As long as you get it with one shot, you put the thing out of its misery and it doesn't suffer, right? I'm pretty sure the deer doesn't care how the hell it's taken out. It would probably prefer not to be, but as long as it's quick and easy, right? Right. But yes, I would definitely use an AR-15 to take out a deer just for the hell of it. Why not? Why not? It's not a bit of different. Matter of fact, you can do a lot more damage with much bigger weapons, right? And rifles, right? I have started a podcast with ADM and myself. Also have one of my own. Cool. Right on. Yeah, like I say, that's what I'm going to be probably doing myself. TCS, Canadian Tire, Close Rock. But I do thank you for the heads up. Oh, okay, right on. Need an AR-15 gun range. Why you got a problem with guns, anarchists and wild boar? Yeah. I think they were I think the anarchist was probably being sarcastic, right? I'm guessing. Were you being sarcastic, anarchist? But first of all, why would it be just about taking down a deer anyways? I mean, I would definitely use an AR to take down a deer. Why not? But why would it matter if it was just about taking down a deer? That's the thing. It's like nobody in this country believes in self-defense, right? Right? Yeah. Or sport shooting, like in terms of like going to the range and stuff. Like there's so many things that people can use a weapon for, right? That who cares? Like, it's not a matter of whether you would need it or not. Do you need a Corvette to go to work? No. Honda Civic would do just the same, right? Do you need a big Dodge Dually, right? To go to go to your local Walmart to pick up your brand new I don't know, coffee table that's still in its box? No, you can probably get away with a hatchback, right? Or an SUV. Would probably do the job. You'd probably have just as much room in that, but some people like to drive the big dualies, right? Hey, to each their own, right? As long as they're not causing harm to anyone or using violence or force against anyone preemptively, do your thing, right? That's the beauty of freedom, right? Asking a question like that is to suggest like your freedom is limited to what my opinion should be. But I'm pretty sure, well, if you're called the anarchist, that obviously must have been sarcastic, right? I would think. Anyways, could be wrong. I could be wrong there. No, I don't think that link is going to show up as an actual link. It doesn't look like it is on my end. Of course, I don't have the actual YouTube video part of that opened up as of yet. I just have my StreamYards. But anyways, folks, like I said, just go to my YouTube channel, or I'll put a link to it in this one as well. Oh, the link does work. Oh, thanks. Oh, that's good. Oh, okay. Because like I say, when I look at it on my StreamYards, the window here, when I'm in the actual StreamYards studio, it doesn't show up as a link, but glad to hear that it does. Thanks, Phil. Yes, it takes 2 link. Beautiful. Good to know. Learning something new every day. Yeah, very important information. What's going on? Freedom free for all. Hey, y'all. Hey, all. Hey, Rika. YouTube. What? YouTube censored me for going through transmuting birthdays. Good birthday. Oh, Rika. That's hilarious. Yeah, I can't believe it though they would do that. Or are you being sarcastic? I don't know. That's pretty wild. Okay, she's joking around, I think. That's good stuff, Rika. I always count on Rika. You're awesome. Bill Blair has armed security. Did he vent himself? Of course he does, right? Anyways, let me get back. Let me get back into that. Thanks for the laugh, Rika. But yeah, let me get back into, like I say, so first was obviously, we're already dealing with the asylum seekers. And like I say, what's happening in terms of the effect in that asylum seeker or multiple asylum seekers that are, or hundreds, I should say, like who knows how many at the end of the day are working in these long-term care facilities, and the cause and effect it's having on that. Because like I say, it's even admitted in the actual article. But then you got this too, which is once again quite an interesting situation to deal with when we're talking about the Cargill. So everyone's been kind of hearing a little bit about the Cargill, that meat processing plant now, Alberta, and how basically it's been shut down. And there's a massive, actually, it's the largest outbreak of COVID-19 in Canada, I believe, from what they're reporting, even more than these long-term facilities. The highest amount of cases in one facility seems to be in this Cargill plant. Now, of course, I would suspect that they have a lot more people in that plant than a typical senior or long-term care facility would have. But either way, the numbers are quite striking. So not only are we talking about hundreds of people, you're talking basically half of the people at that Cargill meat processing plant have contacted the virus. Half, right? That's a tremendous amount of people. And when I was listening to this particular, let me just make sure you folks can see that. Yeah, so I was listening to this CBC radio program, Front Burner. I listened to a little, I listened to it yesterday, and I listened to it again this morning to kind of refresh my memory in terms of what they were talking about. But yeah, so this Cargill, North America's largest single coronavirus outbreak. But this Cargill plant, now there are some, like I say, the typical Canadians and Albertans. I don't know, without old terminology I've heard other people use is old stock Canadians. So the typical Canadians. I'm not using it for race, like talking about race or anything, right? I'm just talking about like Canadians that have been here, whether their entire lives or, second, third generation, like I say, old stock Canadians. It has nothing to do with color or race, just Canadians that have been here for a long time. There are some of those that actually work in this facility as well, obviously, but a substantial portion of the work population in this facility are temporary foreign workers, and apparently some people that would be representative from mass immigration or asylum claimants as well. So you got, like I say, you got a lot of foreigners, like I say, that are working in these facilities. And I don't know what is happening in these facilities. Are these people bringing the coronavirus to these facilities, or is it the other way around? Like I say, I don't know, but at the very least, based on the story I was listening to this morning and this audio version, and if you look at it, it's like 25 minutes long, so go ahead and listen to it yourself. But it seems like there's definitely a cause and effect correlation between, these temporary foreign workers. And you know what's the crazy part? Actually, when I was listening to this, in addition to that, is these people, the typical workers, the typical employees, and the right? So the ones, I guess, on the line, like that are processing or separating the meat or all that stuff, right? Make $18 an hour, which, it's probably low in comparison to contrast to a lot of other occupations in Alberta. I mean, $18 an hour, isn't the worst thing on the planet. So why aren't, I mean, now obviously, should there be Canadians that'd be willing to take a job that pays like $18 an hour? Like, especially if you're a younger person, maybe, you're come from a family of hunters or something, like going into a job like this, an occupation starting out at $18 an hour seems like it'd be a pretty good job. for an old stock Canadian or a younger person, right? But why do they feel that they have to get these temporary foreign workers? Well, maybe because Alberta is a higher paid jurisdiction, because the oil patch pays obviously much higher. A lot of the positions that the oil pays much higher than that. I guess a lot of people choose to go into the oil patch rather into these, but maybe you might have to top up their pay. But like I say, at the very least, if you're in around $18 an hour, then why is it that you feel you workers? What's going on with the people out there in Alberta not willing to take these positions? Maybe if the people in Alberta that were made more readily understood, the common health practices and things that happen in these facilities, maybe they would be doing a much better job. Like I said, I don't know exactly if it's these people are bringing COVID to this facility or if it just broke out in this facility and is having a rampant or outstripped effect on these temporary foreign workers. But once again, the fact that you have a lot of people that are having to fill these roles or positions that are coming from foreign countries, like I say, it's another area where you're definitely going to have a higher incident rate or case rate, or potential higher case rate or incident rate of COVID-19 being introduced into Canada. Because like I say, you people bringing this from different countries that maybe don't have quite as stringent practices. And like I say, it's not like everyone that's coming to these to work in these facilities are all being tested and quarantined for 14 days and made sure that they're not. Well, that's the other thing. Even if they say that, because they're even admitting in this audio version, is a lot of them all live in close-knit quarters with each other. So like I say, that's why it's spread around. So it seems like they're trying to have the best of both worlds, so they can pay people, I guess, on the lower end of the social economic scale, but also try to have high quality in terms of output, or people following the rules and procedures, which once again doesn't seem to be working out that much. Now, like I say, if you go ahead and check out the audio, you'll get the full version of what was conversed and discussed in this. But anyway, I'll just cover this a little bit here. North America's largest single coronavirus outbreak started in Cargill, a meat packaging plant located in High River, Alberta. Over 949 employees testing positive and 1 death. Despite the harrowing statistics, the plant reopened this week. CBC reporter Carolyn Dunn on what led to the outbreak and why there's such a push to keep the plant open. So apparently, over 1,500 cases have been linked to it. So 9 with testing positive. So there's almost 1,000 employees that have tested positive. And I guess what? So if there's 1,500 cases that have been linked to it, so I guess that's getting spread into places that are people that probably don't work in that facility. So what? When they go home, they're taking it and spread around to other people that they live with. And because these people these temporary foreign workers tend to, like I say, all live corralled into small spaces where they're all in close proximity, that's a definite recipe to cause even wider rampant spread of that virus, which is obviously what's taking place. So this isn't good. This is not good news at all, folks. And then there's this other article that basically deals with the same story. Like I said, this will all be linked down. Make sure you folks can see that. Yeah, so inside the slaughterhouse is what this particular article is called. North America's largest single coronavirus outbreak started at this Alberta meat packaging plant. Take a look within. This was reported by Joel Dryden and Sarah Rieger, May 6, 2020. Note, this story contains details that some may find upsetting. Hep Bui, B-U-I, spent 23 years at the Cargill meat packing plant in southern Alberta, picking out bones from ground beef in a refrigerated room. The 67-year-old was one of around 2,000 workers at the plant, located near the town of High River, south of Calgary. The plant is the site of the largest COVID-19 outbreak linked to a single facility in North America. So not North America, folks. According to outbreak data from Canadian and U.S. health authorities, a total of 1,560 cases have been linked to the plant, provincial health officials say, with 949 employees testing positive and 2 deaths. BUI was the first. So apparently there's been 2 deaths now. The second was Armando Saligu, whatever, who died of COVID-19 on Tuesday. Saligu's son, Arwin worked at the plant and was confirmed to have the virus the same day his father began to show symptoms. The deaths and the coronavirus outbreak put into sharp relief the heavy toil meat packing of a workforce that often have few other opportunities. The union asked for help. The workers asked. The union asked for help. The workers asked for help. So if this is a unionized facility, first of all, why is a unionized facility using like foreign workers? Like this seems also completely messed up to me. What the? Anyways, the workplace was declared safe and a worker has died, said Alexer Chevalier, president of the Calgary District Labor Council, during an online vigil for workers who have lost their lives on the job. What we do now is what matters. We cannot bring that sister back, but we have to fight for the living. We need a public inquiry and we need a criminal investigation, and we need them now. I would say yes. On Monday, the same day the Cargill plant reopened after a 2-week closure, BUI's memorial service was live streamed on social media. Bui's husband of more than 25 years. Oh my God, I can't pronounce these damn names. Holy whatever, who also works at Cargill and contracted COVID-19, was asked whether Cargill had called him to express its condolences. Goyen shrugged and shook his head, communicating in Vietnamese through an interpreter. He said, no, the company hadn't called. He's feeling numb, his interpreter said. He doesn't know if he's angry, just numb. So I guess you have to, none of these people even speak English, so they all have to have interpreters. Geez, would that have any effect? Like, that's the thing. Do these plants have, all the warnings or safety signs or policy in terms of how to deal with COVID? Do you have that in, like, what? I don't know how many different languages you'd have to have it in, because it seems like the people that work in this plant are basically like the demographics of the entire planet, it seems to be, right? So it's like, I don't know, communication errors, maybe, right? Is that another contributing factor? Probably. Cargill accused by employees and the union of caring more about its bottom line than worker well-being. Yeah, well, it sure does seem that way. And obviously it's not just its bottom line and the effect it's having on the workers' well-being and all that stuff. But think about us Canadians that rely on, these plants to provide the meat that we all use to consume, to feed ourselves and our family, to sustain ourselves, right? And the effect that that's going to have, not just on the limited amount that's going to be produced because of the shutdown of the plant, but when the shelves start to get empty or bare, and we have to find could introduce its own problems or issues, because now we're going to have to do things in a more hastened manner rather than under a proper kind of a setting where you're not dealing with a massive outbreak. So like I say, there's just so many areas and so many aspects of this whole government response and these corporations using foreign workers and asylum seekers and the mass immigration program. I mean, there's so many detrimental effects and costs, both social and economically, that's being imposed and affecting the Canadian people in so many ways. And once again, this is just another example of that, right? Honestly speaking, they don't care about their employees, one worker said. They're saying they can replace people at any time. They don't care, which is true. That's the thing. When you can rely on temporary foreign workers or like this mass immigration of hundreds of thousands that they're bringing to Canada, or even these asylum seekers. Yeah. Oh yeah. Go ahead and quit. Go ahead. But I got like dozens of them lined up ready to take your position, right? Because that's one thing. Slave labor, cheap labor from foreign countries. Yeah, that's definitely plentiful. And not just in Canada, but in a lot of Western developed countries, which to me is the most disgusting thing ever, right? Because not only are you plundering, the productivity or the workers from foreign countries and displacing Canadians who are already here, but once again, the suppression of wages, right? The detriment it's having on the younger people in this country. Like there's just so many profound effects of relying on dirt cheap slave or foreign labor in this country, into so many industries, and in the meat industry or, the food industry, like, which is something that we all as Canadians, that's the thing. Some Canadians say, oh, I don't need this, I don't need that. But you know what? You do need to eat. And you're not all vegans or vegetarians, right? John Keating, president of Cargill Meat Solutions, a subsidiary of Cargill, said the company puts people first. Yeah. He said his heart hurts to lose an employee. And he was surprised to hear the company has yet to reach out to Bui's husband. He said his heart hurts to lose an employee. How about your heart hurts like the fact that a person died, right? Oh no, I lost an employee, right? It's like, what the hell? Anyways, of course, that was probably CBC quoting him just to make it sound bad, right? In that manner. I don't know, like I said, whatever. He said the company was hit overnight by the outbreak and there are lessons to be learned overnight, right? I expect, yeah. And do I expect lawsuits? Yeah, I would expect there's going to be lawsuits, right? If we need to feel the need to apologize, absolutely, we will apologize. We are a very humble organization. We feel bad about what happened, but at the same time, we're very confident in how we run our business, how we run our processes. On Tuesday, the day after CBC News spoke to Keating, the company said it had reached out to to offer condolences. After employees first began to test positive for the coronavirus, some told CBC News they continued to work in closed quarters with colleagues despite physical distancing measures put in place by the company, and said Cargill pressured them to return to work even after they contracted COVID-19. Right? Right? The number of cases at Cargill is staggering even when compared with the U.S., which has the highest total number of active COVID-19 cases and deaths in the world. As of May 1st, there were 4,913 COVID-19 cases in total among all meatpacking plants in the U.S., according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control. CBC News interviewed 14 current employees of Cargill for this story. Their identities have been kept confidential because they fear negative impacts on their employment should they be identified. But anyways, folks, like I say, oh, here we go. Let me read this a little bit. The workers at the plant are primarily immigrants to Canada or temporary foreign workers, and many speak limited to no English. Some say their job security is key to them remaining in the country. Employees have said they've sustained injuries at the plant, from blackened fingers to knee damage that has made it difficult to walk. Cargill said ergonomic experts were in place at a facility to guide the work. We have a ramp-up plan in place to ensure our team builds strength and protects their long-term health. We are focused on keeping our employees safe and healthy now and in the future, company spokesperson Daniel Sullivan said in an email. Anyways, the fact that it said that the workers at that plant are primarily immigrants to Canada or temporary foreign workers. But I will say, when I was listening to that thing, like I say, the lady that they were talking to, one of the ladies they were talking to was just an old stock Canadian. And she worked in that facility. And I think she said she was like, I don't know, second or third generation Canadian or whatever, that I don't know, in her family or whatever the hell, that worked for that facility. So obviously there are Canadians, old stock Canadians, that can work at this facility. So why? So if some of them can, then why in the hell does this plant rely on temporary foreign workers or immigrants? If not, because they want to pay them a lower wage than what they would require or what would be demanded to hire the old stock Canadians or the Canadians that are already here. Yeah, you know that's the case, folks. Anyways, like I say, I'll make sure this is in the description as well, so I can close up that one, We'll close up this one. Okay, and just to let you know, so because that's the other thing too, I was thinking, okay, so we get it. So that when you're talking about the temporary foreign worker program, the asylum seekers, and the mass immigration, so that's all tying in and have an effect, quite an effect in terms of how COVID-19 is spread in this country and the kind of effects it's having on a lot of people, a lot of vulnerable people in this country, right? Or people in positions that we really need these people to be healthy and maintain their ability to perform their jobs and duties, because it's very important that they do, right? But in addition to that, there's the whole thing in terms of CERB, this CERB, where the federal government is basically giving everyone it's basically like a litmus test and see how much socialism they can introduce into Canada and how comfortable the Canadians will be put or with having basically a handout from government for basically almost anyone. I was like, I wonder, is this CERB program offered to, temporary foreign workers or asylum seekers or those who are coming through the mass immigration program? And you know what? Imagine that. Not that I was overly shocked or surprised, but yes, Canada, yes. That is the case. That this government handout, even though lots of Canadians, like I say, aren't getting it, like people like my wife that work on the front lines, aren't getting this CERB because she's still working and put out there and placed in vulnerable position every day. She's not going to get any of that stuff. But yeah, temporary foreign workers, right? Asylum seekers, all those people. Yep. it's available for them, and it comes right straight from Canada's Canada.ca, their very own website. So as you can see, this is Government of Canada, coronavirus disease, COVID-19, immigration applicants. So this is all the sections. You got how COVID-19 is affecting IRCC, immigration applicants, passports and travel documents, permanent residents, travel restrictions and exemptions, refugee claimants and sponsors. So like I say, there's multiple sections that can tell you if you're, like, say, a temporary foreign worker, immigrant, or asylum seeker, and how you too can get access to the CERB program. Unreal, right? And like I say, I'm just going to cover a few more that I had to reference, just to, like I say, I wanted to verify, because that's what I do, folks. I verify. I don't just look for one source. I look for multiple sources to make sure that I'm properly informing you and not misrepresenting facts or the truth, right? So in addition to that, who else is eligible in this country for the CERB program? Well, yes, of course, the hundreds of thousands of what they called again? International students that come to this country every year as well. So this is out of CICnews.com, Canada Immigration Newsletter. This was reported April 30th, 2020 by Kareem El Asal. How Canada is helping international students. Since March, Canada has sought to help international students experiencing disruptions caused by the coronavirus pandemic. International students are extremely important to Canada's society and economy. The 640,000 international students in Canada help to create a vibrant learning environment on campuses across the country. They also contribute some $22 billion to the economy each year, which supports around 200,000 Canadian jobs. Recognizing that international students have also been impacted by COVID-19 disruptions, Canada has announced a variety of special measures to help the international students already in the country, plus international students who would like to come to Canada in the near future. Current and former international students, e.g. a former international student who now holds a postgraduate work permit who needs to extend their stay in Canada during the corona pandemic, may be eligible for implied status. Such individuals may benefit from implied status while Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada reviews their work-study permit extension application, and hence they may continue studying or working in Canada as per the conditions of their original permit while IRCC makes a decision on their pending application. International students are usually restricted to working no more than 20 hours per week while class is in session. However, IRCC recently lifted this restriction. As a result, international students working in 10 priority sectors that are helping to fight COVID-19 are able to work more than 20 hours per week until August 31st. These 10 sectors are energy and utilities, information and communication technologies, finance, health, food, water, transportation, safety, government, and manufacturing. So, substantial portion of the economy, right? And definitely when you're looking at food is included there. So would be covering even, like people that would be working in some of these food processing plants or in the food industry at all. CERB, the federal government has launched the Canada Emergency Response Benefit to provide income support to those in Canada who have been negatively affected by COVID-19. The CERB offers $500 per week for up to 16 weeks to eligible workers. International students who meet the CERB's eligibility criteria may receive such income support. So, a lot of these international students, I'm sure some of them are poor and may very well need help, but if they're international students, they're only here to study and then they're going back to their country. What is wrong with the country that they come from help take care of these people? Why is the Canadian government? I mean, they're just here to study. Why is the point? Just because, they're fortunate enough to be able to come to countries like Canada and have the ability to study in our Western advanced, although that's the thing, you're not getting much education these days, depending on the particular topics or subjects you go into, right? But anyways, I digress, because if you are, at least into the, the science, technology, the STEM fields, and you are probably getting at least some kind of education. But once again, why in the hell, when you consider a lot of these, especially a lot of these students, and we know a tremendous amount of them come from places like Saudi Arabia, and come from very, very wealthy families. So why in the hell would we even have to take care of these people when they're basically just here to get their education, and they're going back and they're going to take all that they've learned and use that in a different country? Or some of them may very well stay in this country, but obviously by sheer fact that they're international students, a lot of them, they're going to take that education and all that productivity that they've learned as a consequence of that education, and they're going to make that benefit people in their own country or the government in their own country. So why are we as Canadians have to pay for these programs to facilitate a guaranteed basically income for these people for the next 4 months, just like the rest of Canada? Like everyone's basically, like Trudeau's been just doling out the cash basically to anyone, right? But anyways, so like I say, I just wanted to make sure I covered that as well. So it's international students. And in Canada, 640,000 of them are eligible for the CERB as well. Wow, right? And what else did I have in here? So yeah, oh, and just to, like I say, just to confirm, just a couple more. I'm just going to share a couple more here just for more confirmation. And are they? That's what I mean. Like people that are coming from foreign countries, they're already well aware of this stuff because yeah, the UN is already out in front, letting all these international asylum seekers or claimants or temporary foreign workers or international students, letting them all know that yep, socialism is on, not just on display, but on offer for basically anyone these days from Canada, right? So this comes out of the UNHCR Canada for those who lost their income due to COVID-19. So obviously this is all about asylum seekers. You know, that's what it says, newsroom key information for asylum seekers. So this is information. If you're an asylum seeker, this is the information that's on offer for you. For those who lost their income due to COVID-19, asylum seekers may benefit from the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit. The federal government will provide a taxable benefit of $2,000 a month for up to 4 months to eligible workers who have lost their income due to COVID-19. Find more about the eligibility criteria and the application process on the government of Canada's media website. So, and of course, the medical assistance. So anyways, like I say, folks, CERB's going out to a lot of people in this country. And what was this one? Yeah. Let me share this one once again. One more. Last one I'm going to be sharing for this particular one. This one comes out of movingtocanada.com. As you can see, COVID-19 and benefit entitlements for immigrants, what we know so far. Update to surge eligibility. So basically, it's basically aligned with what I was showing you in the other stream. Is you have to be earning less than $1,000 a month for certain criteria. But basically, yes. So lots of people are probably massively taking advantage of this massive forced wealth and income redistribution. And like I say, who's going to be paying for all this stuff? Who the hell is going to be paying for all this stuff, right? All the unborn and future successive generations who don't have any ability at this particular time to rail against it, right? That's who. So what are you thinking so far, folks? Pretty crazy, shocking revelations, I would suggest, right? Okay, where are we at here? Okay, what the heck? Oh, there's been lots of talk going on. Okay, I'm back up now. My first hunting rifle shot, single shot 22, I was 10. Nice. Right on. Yeah, I can't remember what the first one I ever shot was. It's been so long now. Whatever. Anyways, moving on. Okay. What we got here? Pawpaw fruit tested positive. Oh, pawpaw fruit test positive for COVID, for crying out loud. Pawpaw fruit. Pawpaw fruit. Oh no, I don't catch that one. Damn it, Bennett. You're behind the times. Rika's doing you here, man. Pretty easy to send the contaminated tests or create false positive. They want to shut down the industry. Well, yeah. Hey, what's going on? Panzer Dragon right on. Hey, like the Yoda picture in there. Cool. By the way, everyone, if you don't mind, hit the like button on the old stream if you wouldn't mind. Really appreciate that. The problem, Ben. Oh, by the way, Leo, if you don't mind, I don't care for the term Ben, to be honest with you. But anyways, It's all out of balance. Taxation is too high and cost of living is high. How do we live off $15 an hour? You can't. Well, I mean, it depends, I guess. Not if you want to play the consumer game and put yourself in massive amounts of debt. Tell you the truth, right now, I'm in a position that I could function off $15 an hour, and I do okay. I wouldn't be rich, but I'd be making out just fine because I don't really have much in terms of outstanding debt. Yeah, because I was wise. Even when I was going through my situation, what I realized first and foremost is if you want to put yourself in a position where you have leeway and you have a little freedom, because that's the thing. To me, freedom is so important to me. And like, oh, if you're massively in debt, you have like a tremendous amount of outstanding credit card debt, really high mortgage rate, right? You know, the his and hers, Beamers, partner. I mean, it all looks cool and all that, but yeah, you can't quit your job. You can't do nothing. You're stuck basically to deal with whatever fucking bullshit is piled on top of you, and you got to take it no matter what. Whereas me, I'm much more nimble. Like, even though I've gone through economic situation that would have caused people to either put a bullet through the brain or they'd be like going through insolvency right now. Like I say, but I'm wiser than the average bear, and I made sure I put myself in a position that, yeah, nope, you're not going to be able to get me. Like I say, you can't take what I don't got. Just like what Elon Musk was saying there yesterday, he was on Joe Rogan. By the way, Elon Musk was on Joe Rogan again. I meant to mention that. I love it. That guy, I'm liking that guy more and more every day. He's now basically said, I'm swearing off everything. He's selling a lot of his houses because, you know, these activists are going to go after him for him daring to be like me and standing up for individual liberty and not playing the politically correct game. And Elon Musk and I, when me and the wife were watching the program or watching, Joe Rogan while he was being interviewed, we even kind of looked at each other because, like I say, I've had this discussion with my wife and other people in my family and friends as well. It's like, yeah, no, there's a reason why I don't want to have, like, of course, there's times like right now, of course, I would want to be productive. It drives me nuts not to be as productive as I normally am. To me, it's like very restricting, which is why I do what I do. Like in terms of my I'm still going to be productive. The only difference is now I'm not being paid or compensated for it. Well, not properly anyways, minimally by you fine folks that contributed or a little bit donation here or there. But in terms of YouTube, like basically what, $100 every 2 months, like that's right, not even worth the time barely. But I do recognize that I still have this ambition. I'm a very goal-oriented and ambitious person, so I'm still going to be productive in some way, in some capacity. But I'd rather put my productivity doing this kind of stuff than going out there and just be a slave or a wage labor and get myself back into the consumption mode. Because really, if you're just going to do that, you really, most of the time, you do get into the consumption mode, and then you put yourself into massive debts. And then once you've done that, then you are stuck in whatever piece of crap, dead-end job that you have to put up with, right? That mind-numbingly stuff. That's one thing about me is I don't have much for money these days, but I got a lot more freedom than most people. And like I said, I want to keep it that way. But of course, I would love things to change and pivot where I could get back to being much more productive. Like the kind of pent-up productivity that I have that I could bring to the real world, to the tangible world, it's tremendous at this point in time. But I'm not going to properly rewarded and compensated for it. And like I say, I'm not going to put myself in another position where I'm going to use the fact that I'm now, gaining economically by placing myself back into the debt spiral or that debt cycle. Because I've seen where that goes, and like I say, how much it restricts and restrains your ability to have any kind of freedom. Oh wait. Anyways, I'm against foreign workers as a concept, but some firms have been dependent on them for decades and don't have time to hire and train Canadians for the season. Well, I mean, you can make that excuse, right? I get it, Phil, but that's the thing. They've become reliant on it. But if you've trained them one season, right? Because a lot of these temporary foreign workers keep coming back, because I've heard the stories, and they keep coming back season after season after season. So if you can train a temporary foreign worker to come back season after season, I'm pretty sure you can train. Listen, at the end of the day, is these farmers, what it is, they got to get government off their back, because if you took all the bureaucracy or the price fixing or the supply management or all the interventionism that government does, or the taxation, right? All those added layers of bureaucracy and costs imposed on the farmers, if that money was going to compensate their employees instead of fucking the government coffers, then, like I say, farmers could pay a livable wage for Canadians, and people would be able to come do that year after year after year, the old stock Canadians or the young people in this country. So once again, I don't really fall for that kind of rhetoric, because it's, once again, it comes down to incentive at the end of the day. And I recognize that farmers, are definitely disincentivized because of government, but that's where farmers need to stand up and oppose big government rather than lobbying big government, right? Because that's the thing, government imposes costs and bureaucracy and impositions on the farmer or anyone else in the corporate or business world. But then what do they look to? Well, I can't do anything against government, right? So I guess what? I'll just impose that cost. Shit slides downhill and they just keep imposing that cost on whether it's the end user or the employee, right? Okay, well, I'm saying to an employer, like I say, whether you're a farmer or owner of a major corporation or a small mom and pop business, stop fucking looking to impose those costs and those added layers of bureaucracy on your employees or the consumer. And like I say, join up with the employees and the consumer. This is what I'm telling people. Business owners, the employees, and the consumers, and we're all consumers, business owners, employees, all share alike, as we're all consumers. So let's all join together and rail against government that keeps taking larger and larger chunks of our productive wealth or our labor. If we did that, then there's lots of money to go around to pay, to properly compensate your employees and to properly give your customers, a decent or a good product at a reasonable price. That can all happen once again, but we all have to pivot back towards the one culprit, which is big government, the political class, the ruling class that keeps imposing more bureaucracy and more costs on all of us. Like I say, stop that shit from sliding downhill and imposing the costs on the most vulnerable among us, or those at the lower end of the social economic scale. And like I say, start pushing back at the fuckers that are actually causing that imposition to happen in the first place, right? That's what I'm saying, Philip, but I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying there, that farmers feel like they're desperate. They feel like they have to, but at some point in time, you got to stop doing the same fucking bullshit, because it's only causing to that race to the bottom in this country. And like I say, I don't want this country to continue on in that race to the bottom. That's not what the West was supposed to be about, right? We're supposed to try to raise and elevate each other, not fucking race down to the lowest common denominator. Anyway, sorry. I get a little passionate about that stuff, folks. You mentioned everyone should be compensated properly. This is fair, but also increases the cost of things, and that affects how much you require to live. Learn economics. That's one thing I know, that nobody in these chats, very few people that ever watch my videos, and not meant to insult any of you folks, but I know most of you, just because I've never heard anyone ever even talk about where you have any grasp of understanding in terms of market economics. Because if you did, you wouldn't make that argument, Leo. Matter of fact, we can talk about this in a stream, and I could, help inform you regarding that, because costs always go up, right? It's a difference between wage increases in comparison contrast to inflation in terms of prices. So all it is you have to get your wage compensation, which means using the efficiency. If you go all the way, but let's just go to the 70s, to the 80s, to the 90s, to the 2000s, to 2010, to 2020. Every decade, there's been an increase. There's been variances in terms of the increase, but there's been an increase in productivity due to the modern innovations in terms of technology, or the ability for people to, have like assembly lines or conveyor belts, like all these different tools and amenities that we all have access to that we never had in the past, that made us more efficient. So now today, a typical worker like myself, let's say, I can do the work of 5 people that what used to take 5 people, because of all the modern amenities, technologies, and innovations that have come to light. So, but where's all that added innovation? Right? Because you keep lowering the costs by introducing that innovation and productivity. So increased innovation and productivity is meant to reduce the costs and the expenditures. But what's been taking place ever since all these innovations and cost-saving mechanisms has been introduced? Government and some of the hacks in the corporate world, the greedy fucks, have been taking more and more chunks of that for themselves. Although government has definitely taken a large, substantial portion of that chunk for themselves. But like I say, some of those at the upper echelons of these organizations or using it for CEO bonuses and stuff. But so there's enough money in these organizations to pay these employees. What it is you need to have it so that your compensation is ahead and above inflation. If your wages are never ahead or out in front of inflation, then you're always losing, or your wages stay stagnant. So you probably know, Leo, back in the 80s, you were making about $5 an hour for minimum wage. Today, minimum wage could be, $15 an hour. Well, it's almost $15 in Ontario. I think it's $14. I don't think they actually bumped it up to the 15. But because of the cost of everything has outstripped that, tripling of your minimum wage, you're still at $15 an hour, have less purchasing power than you did at $5 an hour. So it's all about, yes, the prices of something will increase, but we've already seen the prices increase. But what it is corporations are not going to increase the cost to such a substantial degree. This is why everyone's worried about that. But the corporations will make the cost so much that we just won't be able to. Well, if they did that, they've shot themselves in their proverbial foot, have they? Think about it. Would Henry Ford and people like this understood this 100 years ago, that you actually want to make it cheaper, because then instead of just relying on a few people, that will 1% to buy your vehicles, if you make it so that your productivity goes to the right places and the people are being properly rewarded for it, well, then the very people that work at your facility are wealthy enough to buy the very product that they build. So no, the prices will increase, but it's up to the corporations, rather than imposing those prices on the end consumer, is to lobby government, rather than lobby government for favor or protection, is to tell government to get the fuck out of their back pockets or their bottom line, so that compensation can go to the, like I say, the end consumer or the employee, rather than the big government. There's ways to get around this. It's just a matter of, like I say, incentivizing. And you need to incentivize the corporate world and stop worrying about the fact that they're just going to, like the people in the corporate world are just going to all of a sudden make it so that everything that they produce or provide is outstripped from what people can afford. Well, how are they going to sell their product if nobody can afford to buy it, right? Sorry, but like I say, a business owner is never going to want to do anything that's going to destroy their own business. Like I say, it's all about properly incentivizing them, which means getting government, like taking government and separating economy from government. Then you would have the proper incentive. Then you would see how the wages would start to increase in reflection, in contrast to inflation in terms of monetary printing or stimulus programs that's, once again, inflating the prices arbitrarily. Because a lot of the prices that, when you talk about prices that have been increasing, and most of the price increases that have taken place all the way since the 70s has been a direct consequence of monetary policy set by central bank in conjunction with big government policy, right? That's what's taking place. That's where most of the ill-gotten gains are taking place, by the corporate world, the banking institutions, and the inflationary effect that plays on it, and same with the housing market, whereas the end consumer or the employees aren't seeing any of it. Anyways, like I say, we can have a further discussion regarding that, but that's what has to take place. Don't worry about the fact that the corporations are raise their price to the point that nobody can buy their product, because they just won't do it. They won't do it. Matter of fact, you by doing what I suggest, you're incentivizing corporations to stop playing ball with big government and to finally look towards government for what it is, and the one that's actually causing the most imposition economically that's negative on them and their bottom line. If you want to get business to stop, like I say, carrying favor or cozying up with big government and turning against big government, you need to do the kind of things, you need to put in the kind of remedies that I have on offer. And yes, it will work. That's the beauty of the market. You don't have to agree with me, but you'd have to disagree with me is to disagree with market economics. And I don't think, like I said, I don't think anyone here's figured out a way to deny market economics, right? Some folks actually don't use toilet paper, cup of water to wipe. Anyways, what's going on, Darren Chika 442? Okay, I seen how these TFW work in Dubai. It's the same here. They pack in housing like sardines and spend little money here as possible. They have no health care, almost like, yeah, exactly. So it's and a lot of the when they're, and even the report that I was sharing with the audio there from CBC Radio is, yeah, a lot of it goes into remittances to their country of origin. So whether they come from South American countries or foreign countries in the Middle East or Africa, or wherever, no matter where they're coming from. Yeah, a lot of the money that they're generating isn't even being properly spent in the economy. Small amounts of it. Obviously, they got to sustain themselves while they're here. But a lot of it's getting set back in terms of remittance to their country of origin, to their family or wherever, right? So yeah, it's not even really benefiting Canada or the Canadian society. It's, once again, more burdensome than what it's worth, as far as I'm concerned. Right on, folks. Welcome to our world. I've worked with many apprentices who can't say or spell hammer, let alone use one properly. The new talent coming up in the trades is poor to downright unsafe. Yeah, but the way that is because it's, like I say, it's all about the incentive structure in this country. Too much government intervention into the economy. If you allow the proper market to function and flourish properly, you would see all this stuff. It wouldn't be able to take place. But once again, you also have to make sure corporations don't have the ability to privatize profits and socialize losses, because you've disincentivized business owners with that kind of top-down type of pyramid scheme as well, right? Like I say, it all comes down to the day. It's and all this stuff. I mean, I could cover this so extensively, but I mean, just learn anything. Just start now. I know, and it will take you a while, but if you just start learning about market economics and how that works, all these problems are not that. It's not even really that difficult. Well, I mean, it's difficult because government has so much power to intervene in the economy. But really, the actual remedy is quite simple: is you just got to get government out of the ability to pick winners or losers in the economy and let the market properly function. Now, it's easy said, and it's actually easy to figure out how you can make that happen. The problem is to incentivize the corporate world now and big government to get their goddamn grubby hands out of intervention in the economy. And having so much central planning taking place, like I say, because these people, most of the people are the heads of the corporate world or in big government these days are the ones that like it this way. That's why it is this way. So you got to, like I say, but if you had a genuine free market society set up and government now no longer had the power to dictate and control how the economy functioned, then people like myself would be able to step up, offer a better product or service, and put all these other dipshits out of business. I mean, you could do it so easily. It would, but like I say, but that would mean that the government would no longer be able to it would have to be a prerequisite. It would mean that government can no longer prop up the one that I'm trying to compete against. Let's just use the telecommunication industry. Let's say I want to start up, a new telecommunication industry in this country that offered, cell service, broadband internet, high speed, rural, urban, the whole thing, right? Well, the only way I could properly challenge the establishment players right now would be if the government no longer had the ability to give them benefits at my disadvantage, right? To allow them to be able to keep me squeezed out of the marketplace through rules, regulation, and lobbying efforts, right? If the market actually flourished, I could destroy their business model tomorrow. And if they wanted to remain viable, then they'd have to learn to compete with me properly in a genuinely free market. And if they couldn't, well, then they would fail. And as long as they were allowed to fail, and government didn't step in and bail them out or subsidize them or prop them back up, then people like me would be the new business model, and people would gravitate to that because they'd recognize it's a better product, better service, better price, better quality, the whole thing. And like I say, no central plan involved. It would be just properly incentivizing things. I actually thoroughly love talking about economics, which is weird because I have most of my life, but I've never gone into finance, and I don't care much for finance. I don't invest in the stock market, but I really love it. I think it's because I love math too, right? And I like to understand human psychology is a big thing, because that's when you're talking about economics, it's not just the mathematics, right? But you have to understand human psychology and all that aspect too. That's the thing when you're talking about the free market. It's not just number crunching and the law of supply and demand, but you actually have to understand human incentive and psychology as well. The system government will have my pass for people to work here soon will require vaccines and all the blank. We will be forced out of work positions by slave labor. Yeah, no doubt. That could happen, like I say. And until Canadians start to think about, changing things, like I say, who knows how this is going to unfold. Time to abolish. Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for it there, freedom free for all. It's just that there's a lot of Canadians that aren't on our side, buddy. They don't agree with us at all. They love them some big government. Canadians can't travel from province to province, yet people from all over the world can come to Canada. Yeah, think about that, Gary. I remember that. What was that guy's name? The NB guy, the guy from New Brunswick that crossed into the Quebec border to buy himself, 14 cases of beer or something, and got into big trouble. But anyways, he took it all the way to the Supreme Court and all that stuff. But I mean, the fact that, you can't even travel province to province, buy different things. There's so many restrictions in terms of the free movement or not just free movement of people. Well, I mean, free movement of people is not too bad, but the free movement of products across the borders of our provinces. Yeah. But yeah, roll across the border illegally. Oh yeah, no problem. Right. Oh, pretty crazy stuff. That's what I was thinking. Freedom free for all, right? $18 an hour. Now I get it. Like as an East Coaster, like $18 an hour on the East Coast. That's pretty good money there, by right. It's all right. It's not exceptional by any stretch of the imagination, but you would think there'd have to be somebody that'd be willing for work for $18 an hour. And if they weren't, like I said, I'm pretty sure these places could pay even more than that if it wasn't for the fact that they have to, pay a substantial portion of their profit and their income based on all the government bureaucracy and regulation and taxes and all the crap that government but the business owners as well. Like I say, it's just a matter of us getting back to respecting and treating each other properly and telling government to stick it like where the sun don't shine. That's what the business world's got to get to, is stop imposing the costs that government's imposing on you. Like I say, stop sliding that shit downhill and put it where it belongs, right in the lap of these government officials. This de facto is full of people. Yes. Okay. We most certainly would if it would pay the bills. You need $6,000 a month to live here. TFW just sent permit just to get by. Well, yes, that's the problem with all that though, is like I say, it's the inflationary aspect that has. It's like I say, because we don't function in a market environment, it's hard to know what the actual proper mechanism in terms of costs or wages would even be. Like the only way you can find out what proper wage compensation should be is to function in a genuine free market, which, like I say, we're nowhere near there. $853 a month to live on. Damn, that's a pretty low amount of money. What is that? That's a small amount of money for sure. Okay, let's see what else is going on. $18 an hour is okay, but you need to live in Brooks, Alberta, and who the heck wants to live there? Not quite a poop hole, but pretty close to. Yeah, I'm not sure about Brooks, Alberta there, but well, that's what I mean. Like, obviously, it's not for everybody, right? That's the thing. Not everyone's going to want to do that, but like I say, there have to be Canadians, obviously, that'd be willing to do that. It's just that everyone's looking like. That's the thing with government. Government, if it wasn't for government, no one would be looking to foreign countries, not farmers or not even people in the business world would be looking for fucking foreign labor. It'd be too cost intensive to put in all, like if these people had to do all that work and put in all the expenditure and cost to look for foreign labor and workers and all that it would cost and all that would entail to, to educate them, because a lot of and for people to be educated up to Western standards in foreign countries, like which that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. How about we worry about educating our own people in our own country so that they can fill these positions? But because we can, like, there's just so much government intervention in the economy, and not just the Canadian government, but with UN, this quasi-governmental institution that uses all kinds of these government programs from many different countries all around the world. It's so much central planning that takes place these days. Like, how could you figure out what's right or wrong in terms of, or what's the proper compensation level, or who should be able to do this job, or who can do this job, or how you probably, like I say, you actually have to let the market function properly to incentivize the proper kind of economic structures for these businesses. Okay, what else we got here? Okay. Yeah, that's true. We are paying to replace ourselves. Oh, the Great Replacement. I've made a few videos in the past. If anyone wants to check through them, you just go onto my YouTube channel, go into where you see the little magnifying glass and just search up the Great Replacement. I've covered that issue a couple times. But yeah, ever wonder why these third world countries get our money instead of birth control? Open borders will allow them to flood our system and work here under Where did that go? Jumping. Okay, what's going on here? 100 just for foreign students, 2,000. Oh, you're doing the math on that. Okay, seriously though, like what the hell again? Jesus Christ. I think I'm going to start doing that myself. maybe that's, like I say, I don't know why I try to hold myself to any kind of higher standard. I should just do what everyone else does. Just go around everybody's stream and fucking look for subscribers. Anyways, I didn't apply the benefit even though it would have helped. Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know how to give out advice for that when it comes to that dust now, because you're going to be forced to pay for it one way or the other. So, like I said, I wouldn't, even though I know how detrimental it is, and I wouldn't, well, I don't think I'd ever even be eligible either, because I don't know, whatever the fuck, but I wouldn't anyways, probably. But like I say, I won't, it's difficult, but I wouldn't condemn anyone for doing it, because like I say, you're going to be forced to pay for all, well, whether you or like, well, you look like a younger man. So yeah, you might even end up having to pay for this at some point in time, depending on how long you live. So I don't know. Like I say, I wouldn't necessarily condemn anyone for taking advantage of it, because I recognize that this is the situation. That's the most difficult part of this, is this is the situation that you're forcing a lot of Canadians into the situation where they got to pick to either I, cause myself to be $2,000 a month less off than everyone else in Canada by being more principled. That's the problem with, like, as a libertarian myself, trust me, I understand this very, very real, or very, very much with firsthand knowledge, is either you hold yourself to a high standard and principled, which just like with the sub count and not whoring myself around, right? I suffer as a consequence of that. This is the problem that you're going to have too, Dustin, or anyone else that holds himself to a high standard or is principled anyway, is by being principled or holding yourself to a high standard, you're putting yourself in a situation where the people who aren't principled and are opportunistic are going to benefit at your expense, or benefit much more when you don't, so that they're going to make out as a winner and you're going to end up being the loser. I like I said, I've already acknowledged that by me holding myself to a higher standard, being principled and trying to do the right thing, not whoring myself out there, not constantly just, doing whatever I can, like looking for other channels that have higher subscriber counts or viewership. Because I mean, it would be so easy for me to do, right? But to me, I would have to go take a shower immediately afterwards, because I would feel dirty for it, because I would know, like, it's kind of icky. Like, it's just not something I'm into. But I also recognize that it puts myself in a situation where I'm losing out in comparison to contrast to those who will. But at the end of the day, like I say, one thing I keep reminding myself, because it's not something that's genuinely competition oriented, because I already know that if there was an IQ test, yeah, I'm going to win hands down for the most part against the people that are, whatever. And in terms of my competence and my knowledge on a multitude of areas and fields, I know where I'm at. But like I say, it's the external observations and what other people observe and that I think bothers me the most. It's because when people come to watch my channel stuff, they're seeing someone that's basically functioning with one hand and one foot behind their back. Now, part of me will recognize government, and other people are basically the ones that have pushed my hands and feet behind my back. But I'll even admit that even myself, sometimes I'm like, I'm not even working as hard to try to break myself free as I should. But that's the thing. Like I say, I don't know. Anyways, I'm just going to continue on here to get a couple more comments in, and then I'm just going to tie this stream up anyways, because now I'm getting a little frustrated again, and I don't like doing my streams when I start to get okay. What's going on, Mr. G Rich? Yeah, everybody, glad to manage to catch some of it live. Right on. Cool. Thank you very much. Like I say, I'm probably going to tie it up soon. I'm almost hitting up on the 2-hour mark here, and I've covered pretty much everything I needed to cover there, Mr. G Rich. But like I say, I really appreciate you showing up here for a little bit of the stream, and you can always check it out a little bit later on. Anyways, if you can't feed them, don't breed them. Okay, it's pronounced Chichak. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that, Darren. It's pronounced Chichak. All right. Anyways, looks like it's pretty much, yeah, might as well just tie it up, folks. Might as well tie it up. Yeah. Yeah, we're basically going on 2 hours. And like I say, I'm just trying to look. Actually, let me let me cover this one last article. Might as well, because it's kind of dealing with the same situation here. Okay, where are we at here? What was the name of that? Yeah. So as much as Trudeau loves, like I say, he loves the mass immigration program and bringing not just the legal immigrants, hundreds of thousands per year, ramped up to the tune like 1 million every 3 years. They were even trying to ramp it up even higher than that, but they were getting a little bit of pushback. But then you got, like I say, the temporary foreign worker program, the international students to the tune of what, 650,000 of them per year, the asylum seekers, like who knows? I've seen figures as much as 800,000 to 900,000 per year if you include all of them, right? And it could be even more than 1 million per year, which is a substantial number in a population, in a country with a population of only 37 million, right? That's a big percentage of the population in terms of like just the yearly intake, right? Which is obviously wreaking havoc in many areas, not just the housing, but commuting and transportation and roadways and how busy they are. Maybe not so much now under COVID-19, but we've reported on all this stuff in the past. But for some reason, even though Trudeau's all about immigration, he just loves virtue signaling how much he wants immigrants, but he seems to have the section or preference for the type of immigrants. And it seems to be mostly African and Middle Eastern, or maybe even, I don't know, maybe some South American, but it seems to be mostly African and Middle Eastern. That seems to be Trudeau and his ilk when it comes to people that come to this country, whether it's legally or illegally. That seems to be his preference, because when you watch what's happening in terms of out there in Hong Kong, well, apparently Trudeau don't want the protesters in Hong Kong, some of these people that want to flee that place, to come to this country, based on this article from True North. With a headline from Fury, Trudeau says no to refugees. Seriously, Hong Kong refugees are fleeing persecution by the communist Chinese regime, and they want to seek refuge in Canada. This was reported by True North Wire, May 6, 2020. Hong Kong refugees are fleeing persecution by the communist Chinese regime, and they want to seek refuge in Canada. You would think the Trudeau government would welcome these refugees with open arms, but no. Instead, the government is being non-committal, and for once, no virtue signaling about refugees. Imagine that, huh? The fact that Trudeau didn't take advantage, like it's being pointed out here, to virtue signal how much he wants. Hey, come one, come all, right? Well, where is it? None apparently for the protesters over there in Hong Kong that were protesting against communism and in support of individual liberty and more free market economics, like more Western-oriented values, right? So I guess I can kind of see where Trudeau doesn't like that, because we all know that Trudeau really likes communist basic dictatorship, right? What is going on here? Is the Trudeau government afraid to upset the People's Republic of China? True North's Anthony Fury. So anyways, folks, like I say, this will be in the description of the stream as well. I'm probably going to have to add it actually right now so I don't forget. Yeah, because I didn't have it originally. I was going to save that for a different article, but what the heck? Might as well include it in this one, right? Anyways, like I said, folks, I might as well tie this stream up now, because we are at the 2-hour mark. Hour and 15. Oh, wait. Whoa. G. Rich, thank you very much. Kind sir. Okay, is that showing up here? So Mr. G. Rich, $10 donation. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, I got to get ready to pay for my next month of StreamYard. With that coming up on the 18th. So that $10 will definitely be going towards that. So I appreciate that. That's a great. Have a coffee on me, sir. Here, you're not having that great of a day. Actually, I was doing there pretty good there, Mr. G. Rich, but I won't even get into it. Someday I will. Actually, I'll just do a whole stream just talking about some of the things. It's because the stuff that I kind of leak it out once in a while when I'm doing my streams, but yeah, I could go on. I could basically go on an hour-long fucking tirade just in the massive amount of frustrations I get that has nothing to do with like news reporting or dealing with the kind of the crazy shit that I deal with on a regular basis in terms of like, what government's doing, like all the libertarian. It's just the fact of just how Canadians treat each other. I've known this my whole fucking life. Not all, like I say, hashtag not all, but Canadians are the worst in terms of supporting each other for the most part. And they love stabbing each other in the back. It seems to be, it's almost like a national pastime for a lot of Canadians. And someday, like I say, I will definitely go on a big old tirade about it. But for today, I'm just going to tie it up. I know a man named Jay Trudeau who's a giant, likes to sit inside his car playing with his hands. That's okay, Brent. You can check this out in a little bit. Like I say, as soon as I tie this up, it only takes, well, it should be roughly around an hour or so, and then you can restart it right from the beginning and watch it or put it in. You don't even have to actually watch it if you got it on your smartphone. You just listen to the audio portion of it, maybe while you're out doing some stuff. So you could always do that there, Brent, but I really appreciate you showing up there a little late to the stream, but better late than never, right? Hit that like button before you go, if you don't mind there, by the way. Yes, I'm still libertarian. Of course, Iowa State. Yes, I am. Iowa State. Thank you for joining the stream, and hopefully you have a great day as well. And maybe you can check it out once it's been finalized. All right, everyone. Like I say, have yourself a great day, and we'll see you in the next stream. Actually, should I mention? Okay, no, because like I say, we still got I've got a tentative date. Actually, I got David, but that's not till a couple weeks from now. So I'll mention that in the next subsequent stream. So yeah, everyone have yourself a great day. This is Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.